Well, congratulations, you have just discovered disc golf, and it's an amazing sport that requires minimal gear and no real fees to play. And that's how they get you, because that's how things are when you start out. But, and this is a big but that always gets you, we get a bad case of GA.S, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. It's the uncontrollable desire to buy the perfect disc and all that other gear that we didn't know we needed until right now. And so in this video, I'm going to be addressing one of the biggest questions most folks have when they start out. What brand should I throw? Quick shout out to my buddy Chris Laney for suggesting this topic. And the short answer is, play whatever brand you like. They all make some pretty amazing discs. And now I could end the video right here, but don't you worry, I'm a talker. And I will dive a little bit deeper and give you a few factors that may help guide you in your gear acquisition and potential brand loyalty right after the intro. Okay guys, GA.S is real and very painful for the one feeling its effects and very troubling for the loved ones who have to endure the late night web searches and new plastic into the house when no one else is there. My wife, every time she sees another payment to Dynamic Disc Iron City, they're not a sponsor, but it can't hurt to give them a little love. Ahead of myself. As a new player, what is the first thing you probably do? Open up your browser and you start searching disc golf discs. And an avalanche of options comes flooding in. You wanted one good disc, and now you suddenly feel that if you don't have one of every type of the right brand, you're gonna suck. This thing applies if you happen to be able to visit a disc golf store in your area. It's sensory overload. Sure don't want to appear to be a noob. So, what do? You grab the shiniest disc on the front table and you're there with your coolness intact. On purchasing your brand new tilt. Now the tilt is a ridiculously hard disc to throw and would be one of the worst choices for a new player. This selection is really for another video, so we'll move on. You see, I started disc golf back in 1994 in Augusta, Georgia, and there were two main brands to choose from. There were a couple others, but it was Innova and Discraft. And besides a few mail order places, you mainly bought discs at tournament or out of Tom Monroe's van. But even back then, we bought discs that the pros were throwing. And in our area, the top pro was Dan Marcus. And then there was Ken Climo, the top player in the world who threw Innova. So of course we all pretty much threw Innova. It was an easy choice. Now coming up on 30 years later, and the list of disc companies is astounding. Here's a list of just some of them. On the list is the top 20 brands by sales last year according to the Infinite Disc website. So now the choices are so much more complex and the advice you will get will vary widely. If you thought Windows or Mac was a tough choice, just ask disc golfers which is the best brand. So I decided to go to the above mentioned store, and after picking up some sweet used discs, I'm saving money, dear, really. Do you know how much these discs would have been if they were new? They're almost forcing me to buy these discs. Honestly. Okay, back to what we're talking about. I decided to ask an expert, someone who has helped hundreds, thousands, nay, even millions of people choose the right disc for their game. Okay, I might have embellished a little bit. Let's see what he has to say. So a new player comes in and is excited about getting into disc golf, but they see all the different brands and they go, what brand should I use? What would you say to them?
There's definitely no correct answer to that. Every brand that's out there these days make discs that fly, good discs that fly, good quality plastic.
What about the newer brands that are coming up?
Also awesome disc. And being a little more innovative and creative, and it's forcing the other older companies to be more innovative and creative, especially with a company like Lone Star. They're using plastics unlike we've felt before.
What about, there's a certain disc in one brand. Can you find that in another brand?
Absolutely. There's, as far as flight patterns, every for the most part, every brand makes a version of that disc. There are some off-the-wall things like a Berg. Like there's not a whole lot that flies exactly like that. But generally, within all stabilities and all speeds, each brand makes that disc. You just need to figure out what's comfortable for you.
So let's look at the idea that you can choose whichever brand strikes your fancy. I'm going to start out with a nice 3 or 4 speed disc. By the way, check out my video on speed to find out more. See, if you like a disc that has certain flight numbers, you can probably find 10 other discs from different companies that have that same number set. Necessarily fly exactly the same, but they're going to be very similar for the most part. The same thing for a 9-speed, and also a 12-speed, and any other speed in between. Think about it. If you're a new disc company, are you going to try to create a completely different disc, or create one that is very similar to one of the selling discs? That would be just like if you were a car company and you had the ability to make a car similar to a Ferrari. You chose to build a 3-wheel solar car that also ran on string cheese. No-brainer. Each manufacturer is trying to fight for a market share of disc sales. They're going to make discs that work. So the buyers, we get to reap the benefits of all those great discs out there and can be confident that whatever brand we choose, they're great throwing discs. So it really comes down to weighing a few factors to help you decide should you buy a certain brand. Because let's face it, we like to be fans of sports teams, and we also like to have our brands that we feel are a little bit better than others. Also, for a lot of folks, having 1 or 2 brands helps them narrow down the decision-making process. Actually, having less to choose from can free them up to not be so stressed out about what disc they're throwing. So, your choice. Let's look at some factors that may sway you towards one brand over the other. Feel, availability, special discs, reputation, and sponsorship. These one at a time. Feel. Plastics can have a wide range of tactile and durability qualities, which creates a certain feel of the disc. Part of it is durability. The different types of plastic will resist wear and tear differently, which generally affects how they feel. For instance, this plastic is so much different than this old DX plastic. This one's going to last a lot longer than this guy, even though it was a good run. 1992, not too bad. Tactile. It's just another fancy word for the touch or the feel of the disc, or the tooth of the plastic. Some discs are smooth and slick, come out of the hand quick. Others have kind of a grip to them. Also, how stiff or flexible are they? Look at how this one kind of bounces in, where other ones are going to be like a drum on top. All those affect how the disc feels in your hand. Some folks will swear by a certain brand specifically because of the plastic they use. Do you like mint plastic? But, ooh, yeah, that plastic. Or we've now got the Supreme plastic. Oh yeah, this is the best plastic. You'll have people argue which one's better. Some folks like grippy discs and others want a slick one. So at the end of the day, you really need to get the discs in your hands to see how they feel for you. It comes down to how you respond to the disc, and that's feel. Availability. Can you easily get that disc when you want or need it? Can you run by the store before a round to replace the disc that you lost yesterday in the pond? Or are you going to have to wait a week because it's out of stock and that company tends to be a bit slow getting discs out and on the shelves? Also, you might want to think about what your friends or a majority of the players in your area are playing with. Now, Pete, why on earth would I want to be a sheep and follow the herd like that? I like to be independent. Well, here's the deal. Have a group of folks that you can hook up with. They can give you a backup disc in a pinch, but also let you try out some of their discs in the same line. You will have a pool of folks around that understand the brand you're using and can help you with your disc buying decisions. Say, for instance, I'm wanting to get a new mid-range, and I know that Tony, aka Condor, is throwing mint discs. I can ask his advice for which mid-range might suit my game. And if I don't like the disc, I can probably trade it to him or maybe sell it to him. Or if nothing else, I can give him a hard time about his lack of disc golf knowledge for years to come, which is really worth the price of a disc. Okay, let's talk about special discs. Now, there are only a couple of these out there, like the Tilt from Discmania, and it is a super overstable disc that's really hard to throw. Or the Berg from Castoplast. These have a little corner market on weirdness, or maybe I should say uniqueness. And if you're into that uniqueness, then there's really only one brand for that disc. But the question comes up, does that mean you need to build your brand off that one disc? I love the Berg for both its plastic and its flight, but it is currently the only disc from Castoplast that I bag. However, I'm now much more favorable to trying out Castoplast molds because of the Berg, and it has treated me so well. And that's really going to bring us to the last point. Reputation and sponsorship. I will tackle sponsorship first since it seems to be on so many players' minds these days. How and when can I get sponsored? I met a guy who'd been playing for a grand total of 6 weeks, and he told me he is already only throwing one brand of discs in hopes that he will soon get a sponsorship. Now, I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of becoming sponsored, especially since I'm not even sponsored, but I can tell you a couple things that I've picked up on. 1, not all sponsorships are created equal, and a lot of the entry-level sponsorships from these companies are just a way to get you paying a little bit less for their discs, but becoming brand loyal and starting to only throw their plastic. It's actually a great way for them to get you locked into one certain brand. And hey, if you want to do that, that's great. But beyond that, I'm kind of the mind that you shouldn't just throw one brand in hopes that that brand will sponsor you. Because let's face it, in essence, you are doing the work for them for free. Let's say I only bagged Castoplast because I love the Berg and I wanted to play with the rest of the brand. Why would they need to do anything to have me play with and rep their discs? Actually, having a diverse branded bag with different discs from different companies is actually a great bargaining chip when it comes to sponsorship if it should happen to come up in the future. Asking them how they are going to reward you for giving up other discs that you love to play with in order to use theirs is a great bargaining tool. Which brings us to reputation. Some folks don't care about how the company operates or how they treat their employees or sponsors as long as they can buy the latest, greatest discs. And that's cool. However, I want to reward good companies with my business. And for the most part, I feel good about almost all the companies out there. However, I've had some experience with a couple companies and really just one in particular, and I'm not a fan of how they do business and how they treated friends of mine in the past. So I intentionally don't throw their products. Now, most folks won't be in that same boat, so this won't matter. I wanted to throw that idea out there to say it never hurts to know a little bit about the companies that you are supporting so that you can shop wisely. You see, we are ambassadors of the companies we throw, whether we think about it or not. And so I really want to encourage those companies that have good practices through my purchases. But that's just my opinion. And so really, it comes down to, once again, like I said at the beginning, throw what you know, throw what you love, throw what you can get your hands on. And just go out there and have some fun. Don't get so wrapped up on brands. We love to decide that one brand is better than the other. But if you're a good disc golf player, you can throw whatever brand is out there and do well. So, hope that's food for thought, and it frees you up to buy whatever you want. To be honest, heck, sometimes I'm more interested in the stamp on the disc than the company that makes it. But I've also got way too many discs, and I probably need to stop buying as many. Oh, that reminds me. Anybody interested in buying a Innova Birdie with a little custom drawing on it for way too much money? If so, give me a holler. I'll sell it, no problem. I always got to do one stupid thing in these. I'm sorry. Let's just keep going. And with that, let's wrap it up. I really hope that you will enjoy the game of golf more than you will get uptight about the discs and the brands. We love to get fixated on the discs. But I really hope it's more about enjoying the game, working on your skills, regardless of the disc, that it's more about relationships and having fun out on the course. To that end, I hope that you will take care, and I really do hope to see you out on the course.